thank you very much for taking the time out and for coming for this event. And also, I'm very thankful to PYU and particularly Hamad for pursuing me over the last couple of months to do this event. I'm delighted to be here, and I'm very happy uh, to to answer any of the questions that you have. So essentially, I think this was more planned to be a Q&A session rather than me lecturing on any particular topic. So yeah, you can please start firing away your questions, and I'll do my best to. My name is Adnan Rafiq, and I hail from a small village called Gadi Habibullah, which is in district Mansehra, and all of my schooling has been in Abbottabad, and I went to Army Burnhall School and then college in Abbottabad, from where I completed my FSc. After that, I joined ComSet's Institute of Information Technology, which was in its first year in Islamabad, and I studied there for few years, and then I transferred to Birmingham City University in Birmingham, from where I completed my bachelor's degree in information systems and management. From there onwards, I went on to complete a master's from University of Manchester. In between, I worked as a management analyst, as a management information analyst for few years with Virgin Media, one of the leading companies or brands in the UK. Then I did a research MPhil from Cambridge University, which was about the social change and emergence. And then I'm a PhD, or as we call it at Oxford, DPhil student at the University of Oxford, which is in politics and international relations. Alongside with that, we have a very vibrant and active Pakistan Society at the Oxford University, which has been in operation for last 50 years. I know a lady who was the president of this society in 1966, and around the same time, Wasim Sajjad, the chairman of Senate, former chairman of Senate, was also the president of the society. So it's a very, very old society, very vibrant, active, who's been operating in the UK to promote Pakistan's culture and to initiate debate around issues relevant to Pakistan. So I'm currently responsible to run the affairs in the society along with the executive team, and we do a number of activities which I'm sure, if there are any questions, I'll go in detail. So this is what I'm doing at the moment.
Can you please explain what problems Pakistani people face while studying in UK? These gentlemen standing here would like to know about what problems they face, because some of them might be interested in studying in UK, sir. Could you please elaborate?
Right. So I'll give a brief overview of the situation in the UK in the historic context with respect to studies. So now, first of all, I can of course speak on the topic because I've been in this country for last 9 years, and I completed. I'm sort of in a unique position because I completed my bachelor's degree in this country and then went on to do masters and then MPhil and currently doing PhD. And in between, I've also got the chance to work in the industry as well. So I've seen, of course, in detail from my bachelor's days to my, to the current time, how, the situation has been with regards to studies in the UK. So first of all, of course, let's start with this. As you know that United Kingdom is one of the premier centers for learning and education, and if one has to choose, it really stands out within the whole world as a prominent center of learning, which has been the case for many centuries. For example, Oxford University, where I'm studying at the moment, is the oldest university in the English-speaking world, and it's in some estimates is around 1,000 years old, and there has been learning at this institution for that long. Then Cambridge University, of course, has been around for 800 years. So certainly there are resources available in United Kingdom. There are excellent teachers, there are excellent facilities for studies, the environment is very conducive for independent inquiry and learning, and it's an excellent place to study, which is why people from all over the world come here to learn various subjects. Pakistan has also been very fortunate to have, obviously historic links with the United Kingdom, and which is why English language is also taught, and it's actually the official language in Pakistan as well. So that makes it easier for us, the Pakistanis, to come to UK and to study here, as compared to other countries where we have language problems like in Europe or Japan or elsewhere. So that's also a big factor. So over the years, of course, hundreds of thousands of students have come to the United Kingdom, including a large number of Pakistanis. I mean, I've studied at various universities, and I think after Chinese and Indians, Pakistanis are probably third largest number of overseas students who come here and play a key role in enriching the environment. Another key aspect of studies in United Kingdom is that the universities are very multicultural. So you will find students from Africa, from Latin America, from Japan, from Australia. So it enhances your exposure. You got to know people from all over the world, and that is also a very, very massive plus point. So lastly, the situation, of course, with respect to Pakistani students over the years has changed slightly due to the changes in the immigration policies in the last 2-3 years, which was primarily fueled by the economic recession and the economic crisis that the West had to go through, and the political changes as well. So I'll come to that and go in detail about how the situation is currently. One cannot fail to notice that over the last 8-9 years, most of the Pakistanis who came to the UK on the student visa, unfortunately many of them did not have proper counseling or guidance in Pakistan, due to which many of them ended up going to substandard institutions like various colleges which were propped up in various cities, who are based in no more than 1 or 2 rooms. And so there's been a lot of these sort of substandard institutions in the UK who have exploited the students over the last many years, and which has resulted in a situation where now the immigration authorities take very seriously if a person coming from Pakistan, or for that matter many other countries, is actually at all interested in studying a particular subject, or is only here in the UK to work or to do, to earn money and support his or her family or something. And so they've taken a series of actions against these colleges. They have now got a process where each college has to be registered, and so the standard of the institutions now has improved as a result of these actions. There's much more stringent measures to stop those students from coming to the UK who had other objectives or motivations other than studies themselves. But primarily, in my view, this is more fueled by the economic recession, which created large amounts of unemployment in this country, and because the local people here themselves struggle to find jobs these days, it became very difficult for British economy to accommodate people from Pakistan coming on the student visas to work in the industry anymore. So in the last couple of years, what we increasingly see is that it has been increasingly difficult in this country for people on student visa to find jobs, which is purely due to economic reasons, but also there's another factor which is important, which is change of the government. A couple of years ago in the elections, the Conservative Party came into power in coalition with the Liberal Democrats, and one of their major election pledges was to actually cut the number of immigrants coming to the country. And when they cut the numbers, the number of students coming into the country, their number was also, they attempted to reduce the number of students coming to the country as well, to help increase the overall immigration to the country. And what has happened since then is that they have put increasingly, they have put restrictions on students working in the industry. So for example, if you obtain a visa, I mean, I'm talking in the middle of 2012, just for those who might watch this program later on, just as a date reference. In 2012, the situation is that if you have got an admission at a college, you are not allowed to work anymore. You are not allowed to bring family anymore. And only if you've got an admission at a university, only then you can work part-time, which is also now been increasingly restricted to 20 hours in term time, and in some cases just to the campus rather than finding employment anywhere. You can only work at the university campus, and you can imagine that there are of course very few jobs on the campus which are very competitive anyway. So due to economic recession, due to political changes, due to demand by the local people to cut the number of the immigrants, the economic viability of someone who would come to the UK for other purposes than education does not make sense anymore, because it's not viable economically. You're not gonna get jobs, not going to support your studies or anything, and so it doesn't make sense. But it is still a very good place if one wants to study and learn and gain knowledge. It's still an excellent place. There are excellent staff and resources available for that. But one has to be now cautious in terms of arranging finances, because it would only work it would only be useful to come to this country for studies if one can afford to, and if one has the resources required to pay for them. And so that's the situation at the moment. And of course, I'm sure as we go into the question answer session, many aspects of what I just talked about we can discuss in more detail.
I'm a faculty member in this institute. Actually, I was asking one question. Last summer when I was going for my convocation, I have seen some students being applied. They have been given visas, but when they arrived at Heathrow Airport, then they have been deported from there.
Yeah.
Those, if they knew about the colleges, if the colleges are fake, then why did they give them the visa? So why?
Yes.
They let them in and then they deported.
Yes, yeah, you are right in saying it shouldn't actually happen, and if it has happened, it's more an exception than the norm. This does not normally happen, because when you are issued the visa, then you should not face any problems at all at Heathrow Airport, unless the college or the institution in which you got admission, and by the time you actually travel to the UK, if something happened between this time, and if the college was struck off the list of the recognized institutions, so if there was a change of situation with respect to the college, then yes, this can happen. So the best thing to do is that when you actually depart Pakistan to come to the UK, you should check the status of the college again just a day or two before you actually depart for UK, because sometimes what happens is that if offer letter was issued in February and then you applied for visa in April, so what happens is between February and April, if that college was struck off the list of recognized institutions, and then you land at Heathrow, then you can be sent back. But that's not the only reason. Other reasons could be that the immigration authorities at the Heathrow airport might have thought that there's something else going on. So one has to see it case by case basis. But I think 99% of the students who arrive for the first time in UK at Heathrow or any of the other airports, they can just go through smoothly, and there isn't it's not a massive problem as such. Just like to add few more things on this question of why overseas education. So of course I'm not saying at all that the only route to learn or to do better or to succeed is via studying abroad. Not at all. I think I've personally seen a lot of people who have been successful in their fields and who have achieved excellence in their fields while studying all along in Pakistan. So, but I think in Pakistan what matters more is your own personal ability to learn and to look for academic resources outside your prescribed curriculum. And more than often the people who succeed in Pakistan are those who have this personal desire and drive to actually learn and excel in their fields. I think that the overall environment in Pakistan for innovation, for independent thinking, for critical thought is still not conducive, and we all should work to make it more conducive, so that learning is not restricted to just few textbooks or some prescribed sources. We should challenge our professors more often. We should challenge the books that we read more often. We should use the libraries more often. We should read multiple perspectives on a particular topic or subject, and then evaluate various perspectives and make our own mind as to which one we want to choose or which one we think is right, rather than just believing in whoever is teaching us on a particular topic. I mean, I'm not saying we should not believe whoever is teaching us, but what I mean is that Pakistan still needs to work more, and the educational institutions, to actually allow this freedom of thought, which is the only way to achieve excellence and to create some knowledge. The problem in Pakistan is that we are the consumers of knowledge. We since from our school days are taught to just consume knowledge and just to accept whatever is told to us. I think there should be more emphasis on the students being able to access wide range of sources, and to encourage students to take initiative in doing research and to take into account multiple perspectives. This, I think, is the key for improvement in Pakistan, especially in the higher education. If I've understood you correctly, your question is about the initiatives in the UK to stop and get rid of bad colleges, right?
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Okay, yeah, there have been a lot of changes. Since 2009, a new policy has been implemented by the UK government, which means that all private colleges now have to register and they have to be accredited by a regulatory body. So what they have to do is they have to apply for accreditation, and there are some agencies who will visit their campus and look at their infrastructure. They must have a library, they must have a computer lab, they must have there are a lot of requirements now for these colleges to fulfill, and in terms of also their recruitment, admission processes, in terms of the teaching staff that they recruit. So there is a comprehensive policy now in place, according to which the colleges are given licenses to operate in the UK, and they are then allowed to recruit students from other countries. Having said that, I would be very cautious still in terms of going to a private college to study anything in UK. I would say, as one of the previous questions rightly suggested, that there are some excellent institutions in Pakistan as well. And trust me, there are many colleges, well, most of the colleges, and even many universities here who may not be as suited for the higher studies for a Pakistani as compared to a top ranking institution in Pakistan. So that is very important to understand, that the word is this is a globalized word now. So a good ranking university in Pakistan in many ways can be much better than studying at a substandard or low ranking university or a college, a private college in UK, just purely speaking in terms of academic experience and in terms of your employment chances in the future. Because if you do want to study in the UK, it's probably best to study in at least top 25 to 50 universities, at least, maybe in top 20. So my personal recommendation is to keep your options open, also apply in the top ranking institutions in Pakistan. And if you want to apply in the UK, it has a lot of benefits, and you should certainly look into this option. But then you should only, I think, in my view, you should aim to study in at least top 20 or top 30 universities in the UK, because only that will give you the required exposure and knowledge for your future career. So yeah, so the colleges now, there is a list now available on the UKBA, the UK Border Agency website, which you can access, which contains names of all the colleges which are now trusted, which have been accredited, which have been checked, and there are regular inspections of these colleges as well. There are ratings as well. Some colleges are rated A, some are rated as B, and so these colleges are all genuine colleges. However, one still has to look into the ratings, and some of the ratings are also subject wise. So in some subject areas you may not even find Oxford or Cambridge at the top of the rating, but there may be some other university. So you have to look at what subject you want to study, which university is best for it, all within Pakistan and also in UK, and then apply in all of them. And once you've got 2-3 offer letters, you will be in a better position to decide which offer you would like to take up. So this is very important, that when you and then another thing is that in Pakistan you have to be very cautious, because there might be some agents who might have contracts with a university which may actually not suit your subject that you want to study. You might actually be able to get admission at a much better institute in UK or in Pakistan. So it's also important not to rely completely on the immigration advisor or these various student advisors who have propped up in Pakistan, who basically would probably, there is a possibility that they actually get you admission at a university which may not suit you, or where in some cases where you might be able to get admission at a much better university or institute. So you have to do your independent research. You must, use internet. You must look at the websites of various universities, and you must get all the information about the college or the university in which you want to get admission, or in which you do get admission. Even once you've got your offer, you must scrutinize these institutions. So yeah, so that is very important. That will help you decide, and it will eliminate this problem of bogus colleges and people getting exploited both by this bogus college industry in the UK and also by the immigration advisors in Pakistan.
Assalamualaikum. I'm Janu, and I have a question. As whatever the condition of this economy is, the more of the students are applying for scholarship and the student for studying abroad, and they may face the problems of level of education what they are providing and what the level of education over here. So, what campaigns or what we should have to do so that we can overcome this problem of education? If the students are going there, they should not face the problems of getting education, because the level of providing the education varies from country to country and from university to university as well.
Yes, yeah. So the first thing is, I think if I understood correctly, is about the situation with respect to scholarships and fundings available. And I think, of course, for the last few years, the government here has been following the policy of austerity measures, which basically means funding cuts. They've even cut the defense budget in this country, and even yesterday, one of the huge military programs where they were supposed to have aircraft carriers, they have now, just stopped all funding towards that as well. And similarly, there have been massive cuts on the education budget. They have actually raised the fees and other expenses for the local students manifolds. So local students' fees has been increased, which has not been very popular decision. There have been a lot of protests here as well. But what it also means is that they have the government now has reduced the public sector education funding, which has had a very bad impact on the ability of the universities to give scholarships. And so, as compared to 3-4 years ago or even 5 years ago, the funding available at the education in the educational institutions in United Kingdom is very less. So there are funding issues, unfortunately, which one has to contend with, and there is very little funding, but still there is funding available. It's just that it has become very, very competitive, because if it is scarcity and there is little funding. Secondly, what is also not possible anymore is to support your living or your education by working in this country. It's become very, very difficult. So as I said in my initial remarks, the only option now really is, if one wants to study in England, is to have considerable financial resources. So HEC scholarships, they are still a very good route to come to UK for studies, and one has to explore other sources of fundings. But yes, the government funding has reduced significantly.
We have another question from Qasim Shah. Please.
Okay.
How are you, sir?
I'm fine, thank you, Qasim.
Sir, my question is related to the image of Pakistan and sports. Sir, after the incident of Asif and Amir case, I would like to know how does it feel when Pakistani media names Amir Khan the boxer, Pakistani Nizar Bartani boxer, Pakistani Nizar Bartani boxer.
Yeah, well, of course, Amir Khan has very distinguished achievements as a boxer, winning the silver medal in the Olympics is a huge thing, and after that as well, after he turned into a professional boxer, he's had an excellent track record, and a lot of people who follow boxing love him, and he's sort of over the time has become a symbol of the Pakistani community here as well. So he's taken very but of course he's a British Pakistani. He's born in England. He's British, and of course he has Pakistani heritage because his parents are Pakistanis, and he himself considers himself a British Pakistani, which is fantastic. And there are some very good examples here from the British community as well, like Amir himself. And also, if you remember, there were some massive riots last year all over the UK, starting from London, and then they went on to Birmingham and Manchester. There was a lot of lawless, there were lootings, the shopping areas were looted, and the role of the Pakistani community in the UK and the British Pakistani community was very positive. They actually did not they had no involvement whatsoever with these incidents. In fact, they actually came together, and along with other South Asian or other diaspora communities like the Indians, Bengalis, Sri Lankans and Pakistanis, they all stayed together, and they saved the shops which belonged to these communities. They saved their properties, and they took a stance against these incidents of lawlessness and lootings and riots, which was very much appreciated. It was all over the media. So along with some bad examples like Muhammad Asif and Muhammad Amir and so on, we have some very good examples as well, like the role of the community during the riots, and also boxer Amir Khan, and there are other examples as well. So I think there is a good, this is the situation that we have to face. What we have to focus is obviously to work on eliminating and reducing, these incidents, and I think we all have to look inwards in trying to overcome these problems, and try to do something good as well, so that we can actually show people that we are a very peaceful and the kind of people we are. But at the same time, we must also admit that there are people among us who get involved in these sort of things, and we must get together to weed them out.
Adnan bhai, I have a question. Question is that people are sitting here from Ahmedabad and Chhatral, backward areas like Chhatral. They can't pay the fees of Oxford University. Like it is a problem for them. They are very much backward. And you are representing the Pakistani community over there. So do you have any plans, like do you want them to study, do you want these people to go and study abroad? And secondly, I have one other question. That is, in Peshawar, Edwards College is the only institute that has stage plays like Macbeth, Faustus. I have myself performed in it, and these people are representing here the 100 years old culture. That is a very old culture in UK. So do you have any plans? Like, I would want you to have an overview of this thing. We would like you are presenting the Pakistani community, and you are an honor for us, and we would like you to look into this matter, sir.
Thank you so much for your kind words. Sabse pehle, this is a very important question, and I'd like to actually go in detail about this, and it's a very important issue. But I'll just have to take a few seconds break. Yeah, well, the thing is, first of all, one has to express disappointment on over the last 60 years. I think the biggest disaster Pakistan has faced is in the realm of education. I mean, especially primary education, because over the last 10 years, I think one can see some improvement in the higher education, although it still needs to go a long way. But the primary education is where I do not find any words how to even describe this catastrophe, because there are the number of states, and when I talk about primary education, I'm talking about state education. I believe that it is the state's responsibility to provide world class schooling free of cost to all of the Pakistanis wherever they are, even if they are in remote areas or in cities or wherever they are. They should have access to world class education right from their right from their childhood, and the and the health facilities as well. So I mean, the problem is that the state schools, as we all know, are in a very bad shape. There are the teachers. Well, first, there are hardly any teachers in remote areas. Even if there are teachers, they are not qualified enough. The syllabus is outdated. There are no libraries, so there are no other sources for students, even those who want to study, to go and read. And so for remote areas, this situation is extremely bad. However, there are some within this situation, the only options normally are, for those who want to get good education, is to migrate to the cities. For example, in my own case, I belong to a small village which is near Balakot in district Mansehra, which is called Gadi Abibullah. And my father decided when I was 4 or 5 years old that the education facilities are not good in the village. So he actually moved from that village to Abbottabad, where had a much better environment and had quality schools and other institutions. And then he, and that allowed me really to get that sort of grooming, right throughout my primary and secondary education, which then allowed me to go for higher education and to excel really. So I think it is certainly responsibility of the state to improve that. Now, and till what happens, what can we do? I think another positive trend these days is the internet. That a lot of even remote areas are increasingly being accessed by the internet or mobile phone networks, which has allowed these communities to get more integrated with the cities, and to access some sort of information, or to access venues or channels through which they can pursue an educational career. So I would encourage everyone who is sitting among the audience from remote areas to go back to their areas, go back to your areas, promote awareness about education, because without education there's absolutely no way in 21st century that any individual or a society or a country can excel. There's absolutely no way. We are moving towards a knowledge economy which will be increasingly based, and it is often said that Pakistan has over 60% of Pakistan is less than 25 years old, which can be which is an excellent resource only if it is properly educated, only if it has the required knowledge, expertise, skills and capabilities to compete in increasingly globalized world. And I think we are wasting such a huge resource. Still more than 50% of Pakistan lives in remote rural areas which do not have adequate education facilities. I think there should be emphasis, and that is something which can be done on even PYU's platform and similar platforms in Pakistan, to promote awareness about education. Fortunately, my family, my father had this vision, and they thought that education is so important and critical in my personal development, and for that they left their home and everything and moved to a rented place, a small rented place in Abbottabad. And and you know, so we have to create similar awareness among people in those areas, that you know, education is that important for the future of your children, so that they do something about it. Even better, we can actually create schools, and that would be great if.
Sorry to interrupt you. We are running out of time, and as
Yeah.
you do, this is the last question,
Yeah.
and it is from Fatma. And after addressing it, you should address in a short way so that I can have a vote of thanks to you and from these all people.
Okay, thank you.
Fatma has a question.
Ji Fatma. Assalamu alaikum.
So may I ask, still unclear. Like he said that there are people who want to study abroad but they don't have the resources and money. So what to do with that? So any very good idea?
Well, you know, there was a time when I came to this country in 2001, that you could actually work here and pay for your own fees, and you could afford your living as well. Not everyone, but those who were, you know, very hardworking. For them, there was, you know, some chance. Then came the time when, if you have you know, your fees sorted, so if you have your tuition fee, you could work and earn your living, and you know, you could actually, you know, based on your part-time work, you could work, and during the vacations you were allowed to work as well, full time. So you know, there was a time, but now unfortunately the problem is that there are no jobs here. You know, there are no jobs. If you are on student visa, it's very difficult. It's very difficult to find jobs. So therefore, that route is not available to those who cannot afford their studies abroad. Second was the government funding or the scholarships. Now the funding has been reduced as well over the last few years. So many of us who actually were brilliant enough to actually go and get a scholarship, that's becoming increasingly difficult, although still there are venues for that. So I think what one can do is, in this situation, if you do not have the money and the funding available to study abroad, is to actually look inwards. I mean, how many people among you know or have been to the libraries within your cities, within Pakistan? How many of us actually try to learn and strive and learn and teach ourselves, you know? I mean, I remember when I was even during my college days, when I was doing my matric, or even during my 7th 8th grade, I was member of the public library in Aptabad, and I used to go there, and there used to be absolutely no one there. The place used to be deserted. And I think, you know, what we need to do increasingly is that if we cannot come abroad for studies, and a very interesting resource now is internet. You know, one can actually, for example, I give you example, on YouTube there is a channel run by the Yale University. Yale University runs a whole channel on YouTube which can be accessed from all over the world, and it's absolutely free. So internet has opened absolutely new venues for learning and to gain knowledge. So what you can do is, you can actually watch those lectures by the professor at the top universities in the world through YouTube. And then there are also distance learning programs. There are increasingly, universities are starting programs which will be delivered over the internet. And I see absolutely no reason why people in Pakistan who cannot afford to come to UK or US for studies should not benefit from these programs. So I think it's essential to look for knowledge in libraries and other places, and also increasingly to access and use internet. And you can do online degrees now from even the top universities in the world. Okay, so that, yeah.
Running out of time.
Yep.
So with ending words, I hope we shall rise. I hope we shall rise. And I would like to quote Iqbal. नहीं है ना उम्मीद इकबाल अपने किश्ते वीरां से, जरा नम हो तो ये मट्टी बड़ी जरखेज है साकी इंशाअल्लाह. We shall rise because we are Pakistanis, and inshallah we will work hard. And thank you so much for your kind time, and thank you so much for your kind answers. And a part of all these students from Mind Sciences, and a part of all these students from the other universities, some of them are here. So I thank you all again. And at the end, we would like to see you in future again. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you very much, Umair and Hamad and PYU for arranging this. Thank you very much, and thank you everyone who attended the program. Thank you so much. I would very much like to be in contact. So you can get my contact details. I'm on Facebook from Hamad as well. And please feel free to send me an email, or just add on Facebook. And when I do visit Pakistan very soon, inshallah, I'll be very happy to meet many of you.